right, we're returning from closed session, and we'll proceed with our agenda. We'll start with the approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. At this time, we're in our public comment section. Any? Okay. I was making sure I didn't have a card. Okay. All right. We're proceeding from there with the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Personnel recommendations, Danielle Tovo, teaching assistant. 2, approval of October 2024 expenditure report. 3, ratification of September 2024 regular payroll. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Marin?
Yes.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Dr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Motion carries. Now we're in our information and discussion section. And then we'll start our first, the CUSD 201 summative designation review.
Dr. Carla Braun is here. She has done a fantastic job of organizing this presentation. I want to just speak to one slide, and then she'll give the overview. The Illinois State Board of Education summative designations. And as she keeps reminding me, these are not official yet. They don't become official until
I'll
October
say that like 5 more times.
Yeah. I just want to address the one slide, and then I'll chime in from time to time, but Carla's going to lead this presentation. So can you go to the one slide we developed today?
Oh, sure. You want me to go there first?
No, go. I'll jump in at that time.
Sure. Yeah. Just let me know when. What. So this is a presentation on the summative designation review. Just like Jack said, it's not official, it's preliminary, it's subject to change. I have to say that because the state is very scary about it. Like, do not share this until the date. So October 30th, it will be totally official, and you can actually see it publicly on the website. But we're just too excited, we have to share it right now. So this is a brief overview of the summative designation, the indicators and the weights from the Illinois State Board of Education. I think it's important to talk about this first before looking at the actual data, just so you know what goes into it. So every year, the Illinois State Board of Education provides each district with an annual summative designation. And what it is, it's a multiple measure index of academic achievement and student success. So there are different things that go into this calculation. It is not just proficiency, and I'll show you that on the next slide. It's given you annually, so you get the summative designation. So our designation this year is based on the performance of last school year. And really the purpose of this is it's designed to identify schools who need that extra support, and they put them in a school improvement status. And then when they do that, they look at subgroups of students who need support. And then that once you're placed in that school improvement status, you're in that for 4 years, regardless of your summative designation those years following.
I do think this matters. I want to say this.
Sure.
Carla and myself and a handful of our teachers, Anna Jakubowski and Brian Roach, Mark Delisle and Katrina Zorbas, Kevin Weck, Arissa
Greven. Mm-hmm.
from junior high. Am I missing anybody?
No.
We work through the Illinois
Heidi,
Principals
I think
Association and work with the schools, several schools who were in the bottom 5% of the state this past year to help them and help their performance. And the early indications is that they took a lot of the expertise from our people and a lot of the programs or strategies that we use, and they saw significant increases, significant. So that we're really proud of that too. So there are schools around the state. My point is this: there are schools around the state who, out of the 850 some districts, are in the bottom 5%, and we were working with them, taking what we know and lifting them up too, and seeing really good results. So.
Heidi and Aaron, I don't know if you mentioned them
Heidi,
as well.
yeah, Heidi Nardini and Aaron Morose also.
So there are 5 annual summative designations that you can get by, according to the state board. So there's exemplary. Exemplary means you're in the top 10% of the state. You have no underperforming subgroups. Commendable is a huge range. Commendable it means you're not the top 10% and you're not the bottom 5%. It's everyone in between is commendable. But in order to be commendable, you also have to have no underperforming subgroups. So commendable is just a gigantic range. And then there's targeted support, and this is, you could be within that commendable range, but you have one or more subgroups that are underperforming. And the subgroups that the state really looks at are the ones listed here, so different races, ethnicities, and then they look at different programs, so they look at children with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students, English learners, and then former English learners. So all of those demographics are studied by the state, and if you're in that commendable or exemplary range and you have an underperforming subgroup, that immediately drops you down to targeted support. Then there's a comprehensive support, and these are just your overall performances in the bottom 5% of the state. And then intensive support is that you've completed a 4-year state improvement process and you're still remaining in that bottom 5%. So if we look at the weights, this is all that goes into that calculation. So the state has their calculation that comes up with a summative designation score, an overall score, and this is all that goes into it. So if you look at the elementary middle band schools have a different calculation than the high school band. So we'll look at elementary and middle school first, and there are about 3,000 schools in that category. 50% of that score, the calculated score, is on growth. So it's not just proficiency, it's growth. So 25% comes from your ELA growth score, 25% comes from your math growth score. When you're looking at growth, what the state does to calculate that is they look at, for elementary and middle school, they'll look at the IAR assessment. The beauty of the IAR assessment is that it is based on grade level standards. So it is not like the SAT or the ACT. It's really just assessing our kids working at grade level. So that's the IAR assessment. But when they calculate growth, each student has their own growth score. So, and they only compare students to other students in that same band. So a student in the 98th percentile is only getting compared to other students who score in that 98th percentile. And then they're comparing them to that 98. They're comparing them to each other and giving them their own individual score of growth as compared to other students. And then each individual student has their own growth score from year to year. And then they average all of those growth scores to give you your school's growth. So
Say it 3 times fast. No,
yeah, I can explain, like there's a whole calculation if you go onto Illinois State Board, if you really want that, I can point you in that direction. But that's basically how they calculate that.
Can I start with a great
Yeah.
explanation? The importance of this is that in a lot of the ranking systems, and there's literally 10 different ranking systems, this is the one that prioritizes growth almost more than any other. There are many states that give a very small percentage of the criteria to growth. Why is that important? Because if you just look at performance on a standardized test that have proven to be socioeconomically biased and biased against people of color, and that's your main criteria, the system is baked in unfairly to begin with. That's research-based. The difference about Illinois' system is half of the criteria is based on growth, not just where you score on a test. So that's a pretty good quality criteria. Of all the ranking systems, this is the one that prioritizes, because if you have students who are already doing well on standardized tests, it's predictable that they're going to continue to do well. And so how do you truly measure the impact that a school district is having on the learning of kids, which is the priority, versus just a bunch of your kids come in scoring high already. And then they keep scoring high and it makes it look like the district's doing a heck of a job. Versus, no, how much growth are you getting out of your kids? And that is the true measure of an excellent school. So the Illinois system, especially at the elementary level, is one of the best criteria-based evaluation systems that you will find.
Yeah, it's trying to put everyone on not an even playing field, because we know that's not true, but a more even playing field than if you were to just compare proficiency. Because if you were to just compare proficiency across the state, it would correlate completely with socioeconomic status.
And something else I've taken from this is that this isn't just Westmont choosing to look at these things and saying growth is important, although it is, and realizing that this is exactly true. Like, you want to assess a child is not grabbing some standardized test and putting at a child with how much they're
Exactly.
growing. But what I take from this is, like you said, Illinois is saying that this is how we're going to evaluate all our kids across the state. So it's not just, like, they have the buy-in from us, but it's not just Westmont saying, we picked this is what we're going to look at, and another school down the street is going to look at, have another calculation, so.
Yeah, and then the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, when I'm talking elementary middle band, the Illinois Assessment of Readiness really is just grade level standards. So it's not, it's really just truly assessing to our kids mastering those grade level standards. So I think that's good too. The climate survey is 5% of the calculation. That's really just saying, did all of our students take this survey? The climate survey is the 5 essentials survey. So this calculation's not, the actual results of the calculation don't go into this, of the survey don't go into this calculation, but did all of the students take that is 5%. Chronic absenteeism at the elementary level, that's students who've missed 10% or more of the school year. That's 20% of the calculation. EL progress to proficiency is similar to that ELA and math growth, where each kid has their own calculation. Our students who are identified as EL have 5 years to gain proficiency in English, and then they each get their own path to be proficient in the English language, and there's a calculation for that. So that's 5% of this score. 5% is science proficiency, and that's the Illinois Science Assessment for elementary and middle school. And then there's math proficiency and ELA proficiency, which is together 15% of the calculation. And the state of Illinois has for each year what cut score they consider to be proficient, because over time, I think by the year 2030 or something, they want the whole state to be at 90% proficient. So every year, that gets a little bit more difficult to achieve those proficiency levels. High school, very similar. The percentages are different, but high school, they don't have a growth score because their assessment is, last year was the SAT, this year is the ACT. They only take it one time, so they don't have a growth measure. So 50% of the high school is that 4-, 5-, and 6-year cohort graduation rate. Everything else is similar. Chronic absenteeism at the high school level only accounts for 10%, and then they also have a 9th grade on track, which is 8.3% of the calculation.
I want to say, once again, climate survey, the high school's #1 in the state. It doesn't matter how well you do, it's just if you take it. And second of all, the thing that's important is, I wish we had the growth component here, because I don't think anybody is growing our kids more than high school, but unfortunately, they don't factor in growth because they give just the junior test.
So this is the score report. Every school has this summative score report in SIS, but what they do is they take each indicator, so your ELA proficiency, your ELA growth, your math proficiency, they calculate a raw performance, then they turn it into an indicator score that's between 0 and 100, then they weight it, and they turn it into an index score, which then they take that summative score. So that index score comes up with this summative score. And what they do in the entire state is they take every school in the state and they put them in order of summative score. So that's how they get the top 10%, bottom 5%, and then everyone in between. And then they look at the subgroups. So it's a whole 4-step process to get there. So that's how it's calculated. This year, the thresholds to be exemplary in elementary, that elementary junior high band is 84.04 or above. The comprehensive and targeted support is 40 and below. And then the high school has a huge range where it's 91.26 or above would be that top 10%, and then 9.34 or below would be that bottom 5%. So that's the calculation. Before I talk about each school, do you have any questions on that?
She did an amazing job of presenting this succinctly, and we're just enmeshed in this every day. I can't imagine people who do a million other great things like what this looks like, but you did a great job of summarizing all that.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, so this is our CUSD 201 summative designation data. So again, not official until October 30th, and it will be on the Illinois State Report Card website. So here's Miller score, Miller School. So if you can see over time in 2022, 2023, 2024, so from 2023 to 2024, Miller's score grew 12.54 points, which is amazing.
A lot of schools would be happy with 3 to 5 points growth.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Every school, when it is public, you will see this. Jack calls this the house. So if he ever talks about, look at the house, this is what he means. So it's like a schoolhouse picture, and it'll show you all of the components that are included within Miller's score. So you'll notice at the bottom, Miller does not have an ELP2P score, a science proficiency score, or a climate survey score. They don't have climate survey because their students don't take it, because it's for 4th and above. EL progress to proficiency, they don't have enough students in that subgroup to count for anything. So then what they do is they distribute the weight proportionally. So you can see at the bottom how it's proportionally distributed. So also for Miller, which is interesting to note, is that their proficiency, so we run with the idea that Miller is the foundation. It builds the foundation for all kids moving forward. So Miller's scores are based off of Manning's scores. So this proficiency score is actually how our 3rd graders did. So they gained every point in proficiency, ELA and math proficiency, based on how 3rd graders performed. And this growth score is how our 4th graders performed, because 3rd graders don't have a growth score because that was their first year taking the assessment. So this growth is based off of 4th grade. So this is where Miller, could gain some more points, and we're working on that with Manning. And then chronic absenteeism, they earned 20 out of their 25 points, which put Miller School just below that commendable, or just below that exemplary. So if you can see where they fall, they're in the top 20% of schools in the state. But so close to that exemplary.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, the only one of these that
Yep.
Miller impacts on last year's basis.
You are correct.
Is absenteeism.
It is, yeah. Normally, an elementary, like a school like Miller would have that EL progress to proficiency as well, but you have to have 20 or more students in that group for it to count.
Because even the math growth was last year's 4th graders.
Sure was.
Which, when they were in 2nd grade, were we grade level centers? I don't even know if we were
Yes.
grade level centers then, were we?
We were
2
just
years?
coming
Or
out
was
of
that
the pandemic.
first full year of grade level centers, or was
Right.
that the last year of pandemic pre us? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
you
great
don't need
point.
to answer that part.
Yeah, no, that is how,
But
that's how it
also
works.
part of this.
Yep, so chronic absenteeism was the only thing that they last year had explicit control over. But if you think about, they're the foundation, we're all a team.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So that's why they do that, but it's hard for Miller to see that and be like,
And
oh.
the COVID years throw a lot because this is, so much of this is future. The COVID years also throw quite a bit of that.
So Miller is commendable,
While Miller's commendable, they did extraordinary work with their growth,
absolutely.
and their chronic absenteeism rate went from 25% to 9%?
Yeah, 25% of their students in the year prior were considered chronically absent.
So Sam just did an incredible job leading that, and their growth is amazing, so.
Yeah. Here is Manning, so you can see 2022 to 2024. So just from 23 to 24, Manning students grew 16 points on their designation. And you can see here the house, the weight distribution. Every single point was earned in ELA and math proficiency. Math growth, 22.49 out of 25. ELA growth, 19 out of 25. And then you can see the rest. And then this helps us to really dig in and see, okay, where can we still grow as a school? What do we still need to work on? So this is helpful to us to use. And then you can see Manning, exemplary. So just right over that exemplary, which is exciting.
It's amazing.
And we just really
Growth.
hope that it stands. The junior high, this is incredible. So you can see from 2022 to 2024, if you look prior to 2022, the scores are very similar. They're in the low 60s. And then 2023 to 2024, they grew almost 31 points on their score.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we did like a real major infrastructure job
Major.
at the junior high in between these 2 years, yeah?
Yes. So from last year, all of the work that was done in the curriculum world at the junior high was incredible.
So their like learning environment was improved.
Oh, it sure was.
Weird. It
Sure
is
was.
strange.
It sure was.
It's almost like we could make a connection between the ability for students to learn and their learning environment.
Yes. Yeah, air conditioning worked. And
Not that that is all of this, because they did a really hard job also.
they did an
And
incredible job with academics. I mean, the work that the
100%, and they didn't have to do that in 95-degree classrooms.
right. Yeah, that was helpful. But yeah, academically, I mean, amazing job on the entire junior high staff. And then this is what's super exciting. So proficiency, they earned all their points. But if you look at the ELA growth, they earned every single point. And the math growth, almost every point, 24.4 out of 25. That is absolutely incredible.
And is that where, if you like break down the growth, was it between growth and absenteeism, like where that 30 points came from?
Yes, that's exactly where those points came from. From growth and absenteeism. Because that's where the junior high grew immensely, was in their growth scores and in their chronic absenteeism. Yeah, their chronic absenteeism too. I mean, I know we've talked about this a lot, but the work that they did around chronic absenteeism at the junior high was absolutely incredible as well.
And I can almost attest to saying too, you hear from Jack, but just hearing kids, so you have the environment, and two, you have the amazing job of teachers, but also gaining the buy-in from students.
Yes.
Like hearing students say, I hit my stretch goal today.
Yes.
I thought that was amazing.
That is-
Things are not thrown at them. They're brought in, understanding where they are,
Yep.
believe that their teachers can help them, and then they're speaking to it.
Yes,
By
that is
itself.
beautifully said, Adina. That's exactly what happened, and that's become the culture of the school now. Is that they're setting goals and they're looking at their growth, and the kids are aware, and the teachers are having these great conversations and goal setting sessions with them. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
remind me again what ELPTP stands for?
EL progress to proficiency. So our EL students have 5 years to be proficient in the language. So each student gets their own individual score based off of the access assessment that they take. And they're supposed to reach proficiency within 5 years. So they have like each year, they're supposed to make a certain amount of growth. So then they each get a little growth score. They average it out to come up with their growth, and that's where those points come from.
And am I right in reading this, that this is the biggest opportunity for improvement?
Yes, in the junior high level, yes.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Sure is. So Westmont Junior High School, this is what is, I think Jack's going to frame this and hang it on his wall. I think Amy is too at the junior high. This is a really exciting picture to see that the junior high is in the top 0.5% in the state. That's out of thousands of schools.
Yeah, there's 3,000 schools that are represented in this graph. This is, besides maybe my wife, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
You got some points.
I think
This
he's
is-
telling the truth too. That's
This is just The high school's been, the junior high's been around for 50 years. They've never been anything in this category. And to be, last year, the number one junior high had a score of 91.7. Now, we won't know until October 30th, and then we're going to look up every single exemplary school in the state. But we're 3 points higher than the best junior high in Illinois last year. We're in the top 1.5%. And remember, it's not just the top achieving, it's simultaneously the most improved. I don't know what we're living for or what we meet for every other week if it's not for student growth. And it's not just a test or a number. It's the incredible opening of learning for our young people. And it's symbolic of their incredible work and the work of their teachers. That's top 1% in Illinois. And remember, pretty much for 50 years, our junior high ranged in the 60th, 65th percentile. All of a sudden, top 1%? That's just incredible to me. I've never seen anything in my almost 40 years of education. And you talk about trust, because that's been banting around a lot. What's been entrusted to us is the learning of our young people, and almost nothing's more sacred. And look at what happened. This is not our opinion. This is the criteria that the Illinois State Board of Education uses, and simultaneously, and Amy and Mike and Kristen and all those teachers and students and the parents and community, I think that they're going to be number one. We're going to find out the minute we can. Nobody will be more improved. I doubt that maybe 0.5% will be higher performing. If this is not what we're living for, I don't know what is. I'm stopping myself short.
So with that, junior high school is exemplary. So then the high school has been, since the start of this calculation, has been in the mid-90s, high 90s since. So they lost a couple points last year, but that gives us an area to focus on to continue to grow, but still in the exemplary range. So every point was earned with ELA and math proficiency, every point with graduation rate. EL, progress to proficiency, is where the high school we could grow, we can continue to grow. And then chronic absenteeism, they did an absolutely incredible job of, but there's always room for growth. So, and then you can see the high school. This is a really exciting graph too.
Yes. There's 650, every single public school, the magnet schools, the charter schools, the schools of great affluence. Since they started, this is year 7 that they've done this ranking system. Cumulatively, the number one scoring school in the state of Illinois is Westmont High School. What? That just shouldn't be, to be honest with you. Number one overall over the span of 7 years. Now, this year, the ranking may drop a little bit. They're still exemplary. But cumulatively, since 2018, number one in Illinois. Okay.
Yep. So the high school, exemplary. This is a cool little chart to see over the years. From 2018 is when the state started the summative designation. And you can see all of our schools that reach exemplary this school year. So that's pretty exciting.
Schools all over the state are chasing this house and these metrics, trust me. And they're spending millions of dollars on consultants to move them.
Oh, Jack Abbey had this today.
We're talking
You want to talk about this, Jack?
scatter plot. This is the second most beautiful graph I've seen this year. So if you look, this is the performance of our low-income students, because we have talked about equity work, and equity especially as pertains to low-income students. So look at that little red triangle is our performance. Now you see a scattering, a constellation of scores above that. All of the schools at the top, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 schools, are the 5 magnet schools that have a diversity of socioeconomic, but to enter into those 5 schools, you have to score in the top 8 percentile just to be allowed to go to those schools. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You can't get, they're selective enrollment schools in Chicago. We're not going to compare ourselves to them. Then to the right are 3 schools that are magnet schools within the city of Chicago. So the 8 schools that are clearly outliers are all constructed to only allow students who have high test scores to even walk in their doors. So,
My school.
pardon? Young, yeah, it is. But they've stacked the game from the beginning. Nobody, you can't even get in there unless you're way beyond proficient. So you look, of the 660 schools, that little red triangle represents that we're in the top 1% for our low-income students.
Who's the dot above that one?
A school I had not heard of before, believe it or not.
Yeah, I can
Was
get
it
back to you on
Who's the
that.
dot right above?
You mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can get back to you
Saginaw?
on that in like a couple
Just a
minutes.
curiosity.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
saw it this afternoon, but Saginaw, or was it?
Because if we're going to be the best,
Yeah.
and you said the best,
We need
you
to
got to be above that dot.
jump that dot.
That
Oh,
is-
trust me.
I'm
If you want me to put more emphasis on standardized tests, I mean, but yes, we are in the top 1%, but we're not number 1. But everybody below us are all of our schools in our region for this. But yeah, we're never satisfied. We're never satisfied. We're about continuous improvement.
Absolutely.
I just got to say it one more time. It looks like on the high school chart, there was also some opportunity for EL.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like the one thing that stands out from both of the junior high and the high school is if we're going to get above that dot there, it's going to come
Absolutely.
through EL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does some of that have to do with the increase in EL learners
That
in
come
the
in.
district in recent years, or have we seen an increase in English learners in the last couple of years?
I can't answer that question if we've seen an increase, but I'm not sure that would, I think there's still room for growth, I guess is, so even if we have had an increase, I think there's room for growth there, absolutely. And there's, yeah.
So the state average, like, can you speak to that a little bit more? Like, is that something to shoot for too, to be above?
Definitely
that?
want to be
Like,
above the state average.
To have, especially, it's huge for low-income students to be above that, but that's saying a lot
Yeah.
as we talk about equity and all
Yes.
that too. But as a goal, I guess.
Yeah,
Just,
Absolutely.
and that state average is all students, or it's a average of the
Oh,
low-income
this
students?
is just low income.
yeah, this is just
Okay.
low-income students, yeah. But we have done a huge push last year and still into this year is that all means all. We are responsible for every student, high expectations and high levels of learning for every student who walks in to our doors. And that's something that we are standing firm on and we truly believe in, that every kid deserves high levels of learning and an amazing opportunity as soon as they walk through our doors, so. This is something, Jack, you wanted me to put this in here? Do you want to talk about this? This is really exciting.
I could talk about this for, I'll just condense 30 minutes to 30 seconds. First school in Illinois to get this honor. That's a traditional high school, besides the magnet schools and the private schools. Nobody else has done this, not New Trier, Stevenson, Hinsdale Central, all the top dogs, all the amazing schools in Illinois. None of them have ever been rated platinum with access. Access means giving opportunities to kids who normally wouldn't have them. Now, maybe they get it for this first year. I hope they get it too. But last year, there wasn't any traditional high school in Illinois that was platinum, not one, 0. And through Dr. Weck's work with his entire team, they achieved this amazing accomplishment. I mean, I really, nobody did this except for Westmont High School. Maybe somebody tied us at the finish line this year. And we're not, look at the criteria. What are they looking at? College culture. Which percentage of your kids are actually taking advanced placement courses? The bar is ridiculously high, 80%. We're at 90%. The college, how many of them are actually passing an AP exam? 50% is an extremely high bar. 71% of our kids passed an AP exam. And then the college optimization, are you giving access early on? 15% is the bar and 52%. It's incredible.
And then we offer AP to all our students. It's not a selective thing, it is
Yes.
all our students.
That is such a great point. There are neighboring schools that say no when kids and parents petition. Can I take an AP class? Sometimes they're told no. we not only say yes, but we beg them, please, anybody, you are always welcome, come on in. We'll support you. And it's not just access. The toughest bar is that second one. 71% of the kids passed the class.
It's crazy.
And some kids did not take and had great success at TCD. We're equally proud of them.
Yes.
But this is unprecedented.
And then Jack, here's your closing notes.
Super lightning quick. The district has never had performance like this. No way. No, this is another level. For our district, I've watched the numbers for 30-plus years. Our district has never performed. This is the best performance in the district's history. This ranking system is probably the most fair and comprehensive and done by the Illinois State Board of Education. And we have to wait for the comparison data, but I know the trend data for 30 years. We will be not only one of the most improved, but if we're not number one, we're going to be in the top 1% in the state. And if anybody knows of a district who's doing it better than us, please give us the name. But it doesn't exist. Everybody likes to think they're the best, or they says, oh, we're trying to be the best. We are. It's incredible. It was a complete team effort. Parents, taxpayers, school board, admin, teachers, support staff, students, community, everybody. Unbelievable, unbelievable. This is why we do a strategic plan, but everybody does a strategic plan and has SMART goals. They don't get results like this.
So I definitely echo what Jack said about this is because of every single person involved, school board, students, families, community, teachers, support staff, secretaries, principals, every single person had a part in this. So really exciting things to share today. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, Carla.
Thank you for your well stated explanations.
Of course. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to, I can talk all day about it, so.
We're going to move to our discussion regarding the 2025-2026 calendar. And so we have a committee that has started this process, something we do every year.
We need some,
Yeah.
there were some questions for the board. The committee is working hard and trying to get a lot of input. There's a couple things. Right now, and Shannon, please jump in completely. There's two possible start dates. One is August 11th and one is the 18th. Now, there's still a little wiggle room around there. Most of the teachers who were surveyed thought that the 11th was a little too early. I would concur with that. We have tried to shoot to be ending the school year by Memorial Day, but the strange thing is Memorial Day is early this year. It's like the 25th of May.
It'll be May 25th.
Which is a Monday, which we would be done with school by May 22nd. So I guess we're asking the board is, any thoughts on starting the school year any earlier than the 18th?
And so this is not decisions today, but what we're
Not
taking back
decisions.
to the committee.
Give us,
Back to the
if you
committee.
give us feedback, and Shannon's on the committee, she's gonna take that feedback to the committee. And I know that the board has liked, and the committee did a great job of listening to the board and trying to build in all those pockets of time throughout the year. So that's part of the current calendar. That would be part of next year's calendar.
And as great as part of the committee, they've stated, with the stars, that are listed pros and cons to the early start. Like one that stands out about the early start is not recommended by the DuPage ROE or the WTA. And then the Memorial Day part of it, and the strangeness of,
So-
well, how dates move.
So in previous years, and I don't see any mention about it on here, we've talked a lot about the start date and how it relates to finals and winter break and instructional days prior to testing in the spring. So I say all of that to say that we have always traditionally started a little bit earlier, part of it being we're a unit district, So we do have to think about the high schoolers, whereas a K through 8 district doesn't have the same finals and testing schedule that we do, so.
They brought up the
So,
pros.
so yeah, they have
about the
part of that
finals.
that's on there
Well,
with
but,
the.
so they
how would it
mentioned the
start?
finals.
But not the testing.
But they're not talking about testing.
At the end.
And is this is finals are not split by the holiday weekend, is that, I read that as the Memorial Day weekend, not the Christmas.
No.
Not the winter holiday break.
I would think Christmas holiday,
yeah.
because their finals are done
Yeah.
the week
by
before
Memorial.
Memorial Day.
So they haven't made the calendar yet, I'll jump in, that's good.
Yes.
They haven't made the calendar yet, they're taking this information and we kind of just put in a start date and end date. There is great representation by the high school, actually, high school, junior high, and elementary principals and stuff included. And so they looked at those test dates and the finals. So the benefit of splitting them over the holiday would be, they would be done before winter break for first semester, and then they would schedule all finals for, the way that if you go after the 18th, so those 3 days, as long as, they would be after Memorial Day for 3 days. If you did it before, then you always run into, if you have an emergency day, your finals could be split.
Well, and my point on all of this, so if they can add those notes, that would be helpful. My point on all of this is that the decisions that we've made in the past, the calendar committee has asked for that earlier start because it's been tied to instructional days and final days. So I just want to make sure that our focus here is on what we're getting out of it for our kids, right? As opposed to, because to be very honest, Memorial Day before or after, it doesn't have anything to do with how many instructional days our kids get and how comfortable they feel on their test. So when I'm thinking about when does the school year start, that's the piece that, because that has been what we've done traditionally in the past, that has been the biggest deciding factor, is how many instructional days and the winter break thing for the older groups, and then on the younger groups, trying to get a partial week in that first week so that the younger kids, so I've always seen that as a bit of our like balance, in that we are a unit district, is trying to make sure that our older kids are able to get enough time and instructional time and don't have to have their finals broken up by winter break, which feels not fun to me. But then on that other side, our younger kids are able to get a little bit of a shorter first week so that they can get more used to it. So I think for me, that's what I would want to understand about each of these. The Memorial Day piece and the start date, for me, are less important than what is the outcome for our kids that these calendars have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
That's why I'm not seeing
we have
the pros,
something
cons a
on the
bunch.
Christmas or the winter holidays, a statement there, but also at the end of the year, you want something stated, at least for the high school part. I
Well-
think they put something in there about our younger children, giving them,
They did say that,
It says
yep.
to acclimate, yeah.
So, and I would want that clarified, because this does not read to, finals for high school are not split by the holiday weekend, does not read to me Christmas, or the winter holiday, I should say. That reads a
so
holiday
they
weekend.
can easily
I
define
would
that
want
winter
that
holiday. But both, you want
clarified.
both.
Yeah. So but what are the instructional outcomes? I think have we seen any, has there been any feedback? I know it's still early in the year, but has there been any feedback on this longer weekend?
I think that's what
vibe?
that's what we're going to talk about next.
Have we seen any impact or feedback on what we've done with the grouping of these longer weekends this year?
It's a little early to tell, but I think it has been received positively, and attendance has been strong for staff and overall for students. I mean,
We've had our first long weekend.
yeah.
Yeah. So is that something that they would like to, they kind of mentioned that the Teacher Institute's on the 11th, or the Teachers Liked where we grouped
Yeah, that's just the beginning
with
of
the
the
Indigenous Peoples' Day long weekend.
conference.
In the conference, right?
That was well received. It's hard, like Attendance has been good. I think there's a lot of
I think that
factors in that, but
early start date in calendar A is early. That is way early. So,
with option A,
yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
that's
way
really
yeah.
early.
So, yeah, so basically, we're looking at, like you said, the start dates, more information about impacts on the students, and then the added part is the thoughts on continuing what we did this year as far as the grouped,
The like long
Days of
weekend
long
for every
weekend.
month essentially, which I think it did end up, there was like a 3 or 4 day weekend almost every month. I mean, I haven't heard anything negative about that, so.
my God, I think it's a really, really good calendar. The question is it too early? That's what we need to hear from the board.
Yeah.
And the board has said in the past, like, try to, if you can, get them before Memorial Day, and that's a fair request, except this year Memorial Day is about as early as it could be. And then you back it up for the weekend, we would be trying to complete school by May 22nd.
I think that's just a general feeling. It feels early, but I think still having that from the committee, and that option, but also giving more of that information. And how often is the committee meeting? And the goal decision time for the calendar is when?
November.
Okay. Does it seem like, God, jeez, where does the time go?
It always feels like it's, and then we get like December 1st, someone posts, someone always posts like, has next year's
Right,
calendar.
has the calendar been placed,
It's
yeah.
every single year, and they're like, just approved it yesterday.
So
Yeah, I think
potentially
just-
voting on this in November meeting? Because we have one meeting in November.
All right, I think the options look good, the pros and cons are there. Continue on with your work, Shannon, with the committee.
I just sit in there. They do all the work.
Are there any parents on the committee, or do we? Okay.
It's parents, a support staff member, and teachers and admin.
Oh, and do we know when our neighboring districts are starting?
Yeah, I have a handout I can give you. Okay. Yes, I don't know if you want to take it with you.
Because Downers has the construction, year of construction, I believe. Can we put this in board docs also? Okay. Or just put it on the next?
Yeah, I can add the board docs. You mean for public view?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Lyle's
Seems
starting
scattered,
the
but-
14th.
Yeah, and ending before that early time, May 21st. But a few,
And then when they mention on there the start dates of the 11th or the 18th or the 19th, that's Institute Day.
Oh.
So those would be 2 Institute days that, if that's what they decide, and then students would start after.
all these starts are institute days.
Yes, that
Okay.
would be the first Institute Day.
So they're saying the 201 calendar, if we started on the 11th, that would be 2 days of Institute days, first day of kids is 13th.
Yes.
So on these
For the
calendars,
kids, I think.
on these ones, is this first day of kids, or
That
we
I
don't
could
know?
not answer, I'd have to look
Okay.
that up.
Do most districts do that?
Most districts do have an Institute Day to kick off the year.
But we all have different contracts, which drives, yeah.
Any other questions? So this will be posted on board docs, which is the tentative starts of neighboring districts. Tomorrow.
You guys have all approved their calendars already? Oh my gosh.
Not all of them, or the high schools have it at least.
Oh, I guess they're all high schools, yeah.
Okay, next we are, in our discussion is the ISB resolutions. which our conference, tri-conference is coming up November 21st through the 24th. Carlos, so you're a representative, but there are a few resolutions that are present or coming up, and they have separated them into what they're recommending that we approve of and what we not approve of. So something that our board, to give direction to Carlos, is going to review and basically announce that we are going to follow the recommendations, or if there's anything in particular that any of us, and then as a board, we want to do the opposite, but we need to let them know. But I don't know if you guys want to speak on it.
I thought all the information made sense and all the recommendations made sense, so I agree with all the recommendations.
Anyone else?
The one thing, I don't know if you guys help explain, the faith law, there's like one section that they asked us to adopt, but then somewhere else they said not to adopt.
The not to adopt was a repeat from last year.
Okay.
They wanted to use that, the not to adopt was they using the existing DCFS system.
Okay.
To do the faith's law checks, and it was essentially the same reason as the previous year, was that we believe there should be a better system, but not using the DCFS system. It seems very, very similar.
Is it just like another school, another district proposed it? Like I just was
Definitely a
confused
different
about-
district that proposed it.
Okay, maybe try to change something small, okay.
The wording was slightly different, or the wording was pretty different.
That was just some one things that I didn't read into it all the way.
It doesn't support CANTS as the appropriate substitute for the employment reviews.
And so, again, we meet, so as a board, we can look through these. We do meet before that meeting is held, so over the next couple, 2 to 3 weeks, we can all review it, and if there's any question, we can have it on the agenda just to say if there's anything we object to, but otherwise give finalized direction to Carlos for the meeting. Anyone have any other questions now, or wanted to bring up anything in particular? And then we'll move along to our discussion with the joint annual conference session. So we are making some great steps in being organized with how we are attending and what we're signing up for and what we look to gain from this conference, and how we eventually come back. But one of the steps we're taking is to kind of organize who's going where. Sometimes, and I think I did, in the same slot, I couldn't make a decision, so I have them queued that I want to go to both, but we should get better organized. And if you were going to something I was interested in, I can choose the opposite type of thing.
Quick question. Just, did you want to start the conversation tonight about these?
We can. I think that if there's anything just pulling, we don't have to, but if there's anything you want to mention, I think we have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I will only say that I will only be there on Friday.
Okay.
Because Saturday is the delegate assembly.
Right.
And that's going to take up basically the entire morning, and then I have to go. So I will only be attending things on Friday.
And so the other thing I want to say, doesn't have to be a big discussion now, is that if you even see something that, well, I would really want to see who's available. Are you going?
Who can go?
I would really like to get information from this session. And it may not work out, but at least that we speak to each other, and or you can contact me and say, hey, we have a chart that we're using, but to say, hey, I just would like to know, or recommend this for someone, and if you're available.
Yep.
That we also put it, maybe we can have a section or a comment section in that. The other thing on Saturday, I think 3 of us, or maybe just Leah and I are
Got the
help
two?
with facilitating 2 panels.
What
One
time
is
is,
just-
what time are those?
The first one's at 1:30, and it's regarding our, I always get them mixed up. It's regarding our process for
Superintendent?
making our superintendent evaluation. And just basically how we, I think one big, huge thing that the ISB is looking to give out is how we engage our community. I'm sorry, how we came together and made our tool, and what was important to us, and what we, how we came out to design that and make it specific for us, or things that we consider.
Yep.
And then the other panel is regarding our hiring of our superintendent and how they were particularly interested in how we engaged our community in that.
Oh, so the first one is on the evaluation?
Yeah.
Yes, the tool that we,
Two different year.
And the one on the hiring is later in the day?
just right after, at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
We go from like the
Probably-
Hyatt East to the
Probably in
Hyatt
a different
West.
building.
Yes.
Probably in a different, yeah.
It's
Not
Hyatt
if it's
East
a
and
panel
West.
carousel, if it's,
But not
if
too
it's a
terrible.
carousel, it's not too far.
30 minutes.
One-
And, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I don't know what I'm saying.
I was gonna say that one more
Basic.
thing for everyone who, if you haven't looked at the schedule yet, is that the workshop on equity
On Thursday,
is on Thursday,
Right.
not Friday,
right.
which really makes me angry. 2 years in a row, I kept forgetting to sign up for it. And this year I can't go.
Oh, Dana's.
I was interested in going and cleared schedule to go.
See, she's cleared her schedule.
I think
just gotta get
what
back.
I have to double check is if it's still open.
You might do that quickly, because I know it fills up
Yeah.
really, really, really fast. One time I went there on the day of, and they laughed at me.
The other part, to be transparent, is that is an additional cost. So if that's something that we're not interested in doing, and I think with that caveat, and it doesn't look like this is a case, but like 4 of us shouldn't
Right.
sign up to go. I think 1 is fine, or if there's 2, that kind of
To
thing.
what, the equity?
Yes, because
No, it should
there's
be
an
1.
extra, right.
Yeah. I can't take too many days off of work that month, so we're good. I don't need to go.
Any other statements about that? So we're working on this, getting organized, and again, making it efficient, like many other things we aspire to do.
One more turn.
All right. We'll move to our action item. All right. The chair entertain a motion to approve the renewal of contract with Jeannie Spiller, our consultant for administrator and teacher development, grant funded, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Avia?
Yes.
Ms. Steckity?
Yes.
Ms. Redonio? Oh, sorry. Dr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Right. And we can go to our, that motion passes. We'll go to our superintendent's report.
This is Principals Week, and I know we have outstanding principals, so a big congratulations to Dr. Kevin Weck, to Ms. Amy Quattrone, to Ms. Lindsay Peterzak, to Ms. Sam Sinovich, and Ms. Tiffany Teresi, who are the principals in our district, who work tirelessly and intelligently and compassionately and are such student-centered leaders. I just want to recognize them during Principals Week, and I hope everybody who can will reach out to them and say thank you. It's a very important and job in our district to lead the buildings, and they do great work. So I just want to recognize them, and anybody, my recognition is one thing, but if anybody wants to reach out and say, hey, we really appreciate you, that would be time well spent, because they've earned it, and they do great work. So I'm very proud to work with them, and the commitment they have to our kids and our teachers and our community is amazing. Overall, student attendance has been fantastic. Please keep that up, parents and students. Our staff attendance has been excellent. Thank you so much for our dedication of our staff. People are learning and growing and sometimes make mistakes, but once again, student discipline has been excellent. always are looking to be compassionate first. And the other thing is just the celebration that we will plan when the results become official. But we went to the classrooms, and this is the thing, just the junior high as an example, to go in and kind of celebrate. And the kids were so on point. It was like, we're not going to disrupt them anymore. Just keep rolling. It really was powerful because we were like, hey, 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 and they were like just locked in on their work. And that's how you get to be amazing, by having that focus and work ethic. And our kids and teachers, nobody works harder than them. And we owe that to our taxpayers, but super impressive.
Any questions or comments for Jack? Okay, well, any board reports? Also, with that supervision weekend, I forgot to say that also their invitations for the dinner. Let's look at those, or lunch.
Oh, you put that in the
In the
update,
board
right?
update, yeah.
So just remember that. The many things that's on your brain.
You could RSVP.
All right, we don't have public comment once again. We'll go to future meetings and events. On October 31st is a PLC dismissal time. Please contact your building leadership if you want specific times or just to confirm. There's no school on November 4th or the 5th, it's election day. Elementary PTO meeting, November 6th at 6:30 at Manning Elementary. And then our next CUSD regular board meeting is November 12th at 6:30 p.m., Westmont Village Hall. And then I just also want to mention that our high school drama club team will be performing on November 15th, that's a Friday, Saturday, November 16th for the play That Goes Wrong. So please look out, and they do a wonderful job and been working very, very hard. So again, look at our district site if you don't quite remember the date in a couple weeks. We don't have to enter closed session. And so the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the October 22nd, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Meeting adjourned.